Hi there, and welcome to Live with the Paper Pixie, episode 398. I'm Julie DiMatteo, the Paper Pixie, coming to you live from Alpharetta, Georgia. Today is Wednesday, December 10th, 2025. If you're watching us live, say hello and where you're watching from. And hello to my replay watchers. I want to give a special shout out to my Pixie patrons. You'll recognize them in the live chat with the little magic wand icon next to their name. We have our next members only stream next Thursday, which makes it Thursday, December 18th. You can join the Pixie patrons by clicking the join button below the video. If you're seeing a $6.99 price, go to the browser. It should only be $4.99 US. We'd love to have you join us. Let's see, I'm excited about tonight's project. I'll give you a little sneaky peek. It's like a last minute, let's see, like table favor. We could also turn it into an ornament. Lily actually suggested that I punch some holes and hang some twine as an ornament. So I'll talk about that when I demonstrate the project. If you've got a question for me tonight, go ahead and put a Q in front of your question. That will make it into my queue. I'm going to save all of your questions until the end of tonight's show. That will allow me to focus on demonstrating the project, but I will stay on at the end to answer all of your questions. So don't forget to use the Q, and please use the Q for questions. That helps me out. Let's see, when you shop Stampin' Up, you can earn Stampin' Rewards on orders of $20 or more. You earn 10% back in Stampin' Rewards. You just have to have a Stampin' Up account and opt into the Stampin' Rewards program, totally free to participate. But I love the Stampin' Rewards program because almost everyone is earning Stampin' Rewards at orders of $20 or more. Your Stampin' Rewards are good for 12 months from the date of purchase. So for example, if you place an order today, your Stampin' Rewards are going to be good until December 31st, 2026. Although if you're like me, my Stampin' Rewards burn a hole in my pocket and I use them almost as fast as I earn them. But if you're really good about saving up your Stampin' Rewards, they're your rewards your way. You can use them as you wish. Speaking of shopping, we have got a couple of amazing bonuses that are going on today through Friday. It is free shipping for 3 days only on orders of $75 or more. The cool part about that $75 amount is you'll also earn the opportunity to purchase the low-priced product of the month, which is the True Blue Florals Designer Series paper. You can purchase that for $5. And it's a normal-sized pack of Designer Series paper, so it's 12 double-sided sheets of Designer Series paper. I think it's 2 sheets of 6 double-sided designs. It's gorgeous, especially if you love blues. So that free shipping order also unlocks that product of the month for just $5. There's also a paper pumpkin sale on past kits, refills, and add-ons up to 50% off. I'm going to share my screen here in just a moment and kind of point out a couple of things. And then the last chance list was refreshed last week. Still some amazing deals on there. They are starting to sell out. So I recommend if you're thinking about grabbing free shipping, take a look at the last chance list. And what else was I going to say? I don't know. My brain is fried. It's that time of year. So I'm going to I'm going to switch to sharing my screen. So this is the last chance products category. I think I shared last week that for this one, I actually recommend sorting by discount applied. There's lots of filters along the left-hand side. That is last chance. You'll see a banner up the top of the screen for 3 days only. Get free shipping on qualifying orders, which is orders of $75 or more before shipping and tax and after applying any Stampin' Rewards. So keep that in mind. And then you'll also unlock the product of the month. So for example, if I add this product to the cart, there should be, there we go, a little box that says product of the month. Oop, and it just disappeared on me. Let's go to the cart. So it tells you how far away you are from claiming your product of the month. And if I click on learn more here, this is this month's product of the month. the True Blue Florals Designer Series paper. And I don't know if you guys knew, but if you click on the Designer Series paper, a window pops up and you can zoom in on all of the patterns to take a look at them. That's a fairly new addition to the online store, so go ahead and check that out. So again, last chance, product of the month, free shipping, and then the, let's see, paper pumpkin refills, past kits, and add-ons. You'll see those are discounted up to 50% off, and that's for active Paper Pumpkin subscribers, okay? So that's the scoop there. I am ready to flip the camera. I don't have show and tell from the kids tonight. I don't think so. No, I don't. So we're gonna jump into tonight's project. First, I wanna show you and tell you more about this project. First, I wanna give a shout out to Marie-Christine Andreeff. She is a French demonstrator, and she inspired this project. I didn't see a tutorial or video anywhere, but she posted a reel sharing a whole bunch of different versions of this style project, and I fell in love with it. And I want to give a shout out to Hazel, who emailed me a link or a photo because she fell in love with it too and was asking for it to be pixified or measurements to be figured out. I could not get it out of my head because I thought it was just such an amazing box. Kind of the shape of like a chef's hat or a crown is what I'm picturing, but really it is just this beautiful domed lid box. I don't know if you can see, there's some Designer Series paper on the inside. Now, forgive me for the measurements, but sometimes the measurements have to be a little extra because the project is just to die for. So that's one of the project. That is this project tonight. Again, my daughter suggested turning this into a little ornament. So you could actually punch a pair of holes on the top here and run some twine through it. I kept the embellishment pretty simple because the box itself is just so very cool. So that is what we're going to create tonight. It's using the Modern Christmas Designer Series paper. I love this specialty paper. This paper is amazing for New Year's Eve as well. This would be a really great project for like a New Year's Eve dinner. Just change up the sentiment, but I love the gold, black, and white. Super, super classic. The stamp set is the one that goes with this Designer Series paper. It's the Ornamental Christmas stamp set. I love that sentiment, Be Jolly. I haven't used that yet, but I love it. Then we're also using the Stylish Shapes, and I'm using this die, which is the 1 and little over 1 1/4 inch in diameter. And then the bow, you might be wondering where that came from, and that's from the Gingerbread Man dies. And I love the die in it. Let me show you the rest of the dies. Hold on. I haven't even put them on a magnet card yet because I need a big magnet card for these. But this is the die. It's one die and you get 3 pieces to build a bow. It's so cute. But I love the dies in here. You've got like little peppermint dies, lollipops, this cute hat, scarf, obviously the gingerbread men, or really it's a gingerbread man that folds, man or woman, that folds into a card. Super fun set of dies. So we're going to use that for the bow. And yeah, I think that's everything else that we're using. Fairly simple on the outside. All right. I've got all my pieces and parts cut. So again, I just want to give a shout out to Marie-Christine Andreeff from France. And her Facebook and Instagram is called Marie and Scrap. And I will link to her Instagram in the video description after the video. I didn't even have time to do a template because I was having so much fun figuring out this box and time got away from me. The other thing I wanted to mention too, I intended to have my product shares ready to go. They are mostly ready to go, but I ran into some technical errors on my website, so I will actually roll those out for sign up either tomorrow or Friday, depending if I can get all the glitches figured out. So stay tuned for that. If you're on my email list, you'll get an email with all the details about product shares. All right, we're gonna start with, let's start with the base. Again, this is a hexagon shaped box, and I did some kind of fun things with the base. I've done a few hexagon boxes in the past. They've all had kind of different closures along the bottom. This closure is one of my favorites to do. I forgot to say the other product we're using is the 1 3/4 inch circle punch. You can use a die as well, but 1 3/4 is pretty much the diameter of the hexagon. The box inside itself is 1 5/8 of an inch tall. This will definitely fit a Ferrero, even with quite a bit of space to spare, but you could put a handful of treats in there, like pretty Hershey's Kisses or Hershey's Nuggets. You probably could fold up a check or cash if you wanted to hang it on a tree, on the Christmas tree, if you're looking for some last minute gifts, but it's just such a cool. This would be so cute with Valentine's products, even St. Patrick's Day. So use your imagination. Hopefully you will come back to this style box often. All right, we're gonna start with the base, and we're gonna be using basic black. Hopefully you'll be able to see score lines. I will have templates done, but they will be added to the project sheet. That will be available at some point tomorrow, December 11th. If you're on my email list, you'll get that emailed to you. I will also add a link to it in the video description. All right. So this piece of basic black measures 3 inches tall by, and forgive me, 6 21/32. I'm going to tell you what that actually means, but it's 3 by 6 21/32, which is just a hair past 6 5/8. So I'm going to show you on the paper trimmer where that measurement is to help you out. But again, there is a method to my madness. I tried a million different measurements today until I ended up with what we've got tonight. All right, so 6 21/32. You're going to go to 6 5/8. I'm going to zoom in just a wee bit here. Where is my, let's do a little pointer on my take your pick tool. All right, so 6 5/8 is right here. You're gonna go halfway between the 6 5/8 and, what is that? 6 5/8, 6 11/16. So it's right between those two. So basically I took my paper and I lined it up at 6 5/8. And then I went between the tick marks. So it's just a tiny little hair there. Okay, that's 6 5/8, or sorry, 6 21/32. All right, I'm gonna leave the arm out. And originally I came up with measurements to use the Simply Scored, but I found that the base, when I originally did the first base, it was much too loose. Using like 1 inch measurements in each of the sections. So I had to tweak. That's why we're working in 30 seconds, but I promise the starting measurement is the only one at the 30 seconds. Okay, so along the long side, we are going to score at 2 1/16, 4 1/8, and 6 3/16. I'm going to rotate that 180, so the opposite long side, and we're going to score at 1 1/2. Three 9/16. That is just 1 tick mark past 3 1/2. And 5 5/8. So basically each of these sections now here are like 30 seconds of an inch pretty much, but because we did kind of that back and forth rotating, I stuck to the better, easier measurements. Okay, now I want to put my little 1/2 inch section towards the bottom because we're going to score along the short side now. So again, I've got my little 1/2 inch section at the bottom. So if you look at your score lines, I know a little hard to see on camera with the black, all 6 of these are the same width, and then there's this little 1/2 inch width here. I want that at the bottom, and we're going to score at 7/8 of an inch. And 2 1/2. Oop, I almost used my cutting tool there. That would have been bad. So there we go. And again, I will have a template to reference on the project sheet. Okay. We'll bring that back in a moment. But what I'm going to do now is go ahead and fold and burnish on all the score lines. Like so. You can see them a little better now. Okay. Now we've got kind of this 1/2 inch section along the top there. I'm going to flip it over because it's easier for me to see the score lines. I'm going to start along the bottom. So the wider section, we get our 1/2 inch at the top, the wider section at the bottom. And each of these vertical score lines, I'm going to cut right up the middle, and I'm going to stop at that first horizontal score line. And for me, it's just easier to see the score lines from the back because the score line is raised on the back side. But again, I'm just cutting right down the middle and stopping at that first horizontal score line. All right, so we've got this little rectangle in the corner. I'm going to remove that, so I'm going to turn it a 1/4 of a turn, and I'm just going to miter cut. We're going to remove that corner. So I've got just a little bit of a miter cut there. And then I'm going to miter cut on the opposite side of this is going to end up being our tab here that we fold in to create the box. I'm going to turn it to now the long side, but now we're looking at that short section. So each of these, I am going to kind of miter cut on either side of the score line. So as I remove this little corner here, I'm going to do a little miter cut. So you'll see there's miter cuts on both sides of that corner piece. And then as I go down, I'm just going to kind of like angle cut on either side of the score line. It's just easier to do this than to cut up each of them and then miter cut all the pieces. So I just kind of cut a little triangle out of there on either side of that score line. And we're stopping right at that horizontal score line, like that. And then we've got one more, just that little edge. There we go. So it's going to look like that. Okay. So these, we don't have any miter cutting. We don't need to do that. These we do, because these are actually going to fold into the box to give us that nice folded edge and finish. All right, let's see. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, actually I'm going to turn it this way. I've got my narrower section here now along the bottom, so facing me, and I have my little 1/2 inch section on the right. I'm going to put liquid glue on each of these tabs, except for the one the farthest away from the tab. We're going to do that one after we glue the tab to the other side, because this tab actually needs to fold over. So the tab's going to glue here. I want this tab, when we fold it over, to go over that little tab. So I'm going to do like the first 3 at a time and then the next 2. So liquid glue. I'm only going up to the score line like that. And then I'm going to fold those down, and then I'm just going to kind of hold in place for a little bit till those stick. There we go. And then I'm just going to kind of burnish with my bone folder. Give me that nice crisp folded edge there. So we've done the first 3, and then I'm going to do the next 2. And again, just folding those down. And burnish. All right, so now I've turned it this way. Again, don't worry about this tab yet. I'm gonna fold on the, let's see, second score line. Let's fold on the second score line from the left, and then the second score line from the right. And those are gonna kind of line up right there on the score line. Because we're using our paper trimmer, just one caveat, your score lines might not exactly match up, and that is just because of human interference. So it's part of why I love to use the Simply Scored. Obviously, the Simply Scored only has 1/8 of an inch, so when I start dealing with scoring on the 1/16 of an inch, I've got to use the paper trimmer. And sometimes not everything lines up properly. Sometimes that's because of me being involved, or that's because of the paper trimmer. Sometimes the measurements might be just slightly off, especially right there at the hinge where the arm comes out. So I'm going to put liquid glue along that tab right up to the score line. So I'm folding on the second score line from the left, liquid glue. And then the second score line from the right. And I'm just making sure like that score line and folded edge, they're all in line with each other, and these are all in line with each other. And you'll see if I kind of like shift, see how it's not exactly lining up? That's okay, because it's handmade, but that's just gonna be one of the differences when you don't use the Simply Scored. In case you're wondering if it's you or it's just the nature of the beast when you use the paper trimmer. Okay. All right, so now we can go ahead and tack down this last tab. So I'm gonna put liquid glue. I don't know if you can see that in the light. Probably not. There's the tab that's in there. So now this is gonna glue over that tab. That's why we waited till now to do it. And just fold that in. And burnish. So we've got our nice folded edge on the top of our box bottom. Okay, now I'm gonna flip it over where we've got these tabs. And I always forget when I use basic black, sometimes it's hard for you guys to see. So we're gonna put this together like you would if you were reclosing a box, like a box from UPS, you know, when you kind of fold the lid pieces in so they kind of alternate and it holds itself closed. We're doing the same thing with this. So as I move around, so this is how my brain works. I'm gonna take this, the left side of this tab, and put it in front of this tab. Sorry, the left side of this tab in front of the right side of the adjacent tab. And you just kind of keep working your way around. The left side is always on the top. The right side is always underneath. See if I can get that. Okay, so if it's working right, hold on. That one's on top. This one needs to be underneath. If you get it right, it starts to close like a camera shutter. You see that? So I'm gonna do that one more time, popping them all out. So I'm just kind of overlapping these so that the left side is overlapping the one to the left, and the same way all the way around. And then you just kind of push them all together like a camera shutter, like so. Okay, and then you have that really cool looking bottom, but we're gonna cover it up with a circle. Okay, so I like to glue a circle. It'll hold itself together, but see how there's just a little bit of a gap there? If you put anything heavy in here, that's not gonna hold. So I do recommend that you use a circle. Again, a 1 3/4 inch circle is gonna be your best bet. I'm gonna do on the inside designer series paper, and on the outside I'm gonna do basic black just to match. You could do the DSP on both. I'm gonna do the inside first because that will kind of help shape the hexagon, because the 1 3/4 inch circle is gonna fit perfectly in there and keep that hexagon shape, okay? All right, so I'm gonna use the same paper we're gonna use on the lid and punch. Now, one thing I like to do to make sure that this is finished the way I like it is to look for the tab in the back, and you're not really gonna be able to see that. Or if I grab my flashlight, hold on. Let's see if this works. If I shine light in there, does that work? Nope. I thought that would be a good idea, but no. All right. So I am just looking at the back wall where the little tab is on the inside. It's way easier for you to see that in person than you can see on camera, but I'm just kind of keeping tabs where that tab is. That's going to be the back of my box. It's not the end of the world, but there's a seam here as well. And again, it's hard to see on the black, but you can see right where that edge is there. That's going to be the back of my box. And I'm going to keep that in mind because I also want the lid to go in the same orientation. It's not the end of the world. The recipient will lift the lid and might not put it back in the same spot. They won't even notice. So liquid glue. And then, I don't know, I think I'm going to put my stripes horizontal to the back there. I'm just going to drop that circle in there. Let's see if I can move it. There we go. So because of the size of that circle, it's going to automatically put the sides in the right position. Now I recommend using something like the flat end of your glue bottle. We're going to push from the inside, but I found a cool thing in my stash that is like perfect size. I ordered the brand new, this is coming out January 6th, the washi tape, and it's like the perfect diameter. So I'm just putting it in there to press down. So like if you have some type of a spray bottle or like the old Stampin' Mist bottles when they were the small ones, that would probably be a perfect diameter. But again, the glue bottle works as well. You just have to move it around a little bit. All right.
Do you want to address the ads in the chat?
Yeah, so the ads that are popping up in live chat, unfortunately, I cannot control those. That is a YouTube thing. They don't give creators the option to turn those off, unfortunately. So, but my understanding is it's not interrupting the video. It just seems to be interrupting the chat. So there we go. Okay, so that's glued on the inside. And then I'm going to take the 1 3/4 inch punch and I'm going to punch out from basic black. So yes, forgive me for the ads in the chat. I can't control those. All right. So now I'm just going to glue this to the bottom, even though the bottom is so cool. It does save some cardstock though. Historically, with Hexagon boxes, you would have like pieces that run the whole length and overlap them, but then this is only about half the length. I think these are 7/8 of an inch. Yeah, so one thing I will say about the ads, it is one way for me to continue to share my tutorials for free. So I do appreciate that I can earn a little bit of income with ads, but I do recognize that they can be annoying. But it does allow me to continue to bring you guys free stuff. So I appreciate your patience. All right, so I'm just gonna kind of tack that down a little bit. I'm just holding it for a few moments and then I'll flip it over and we'll do the same thing. Just, you know, kind of applying pressure, using my surface as leverage. Again, this little washi tape roll. Now, once I start using it, it'll be a different diameter, but I thought it was kind of a cool tool. I'm like, oh, I wonder if that will fit. And again, you can just use your glue bottle as well. Yeah, Deborah, you can remove the closed caption at the bottom of the video. You should see CC. That sometimes is turned on by default. Just click the CC to turn it off and the closed captions will go away. That's based on your own viewer settings. All right, so the bottom is done. Isn't that so cool how that looks? Just gives it a really nice finish. We've got the little peekaboo of the designer series paper on the inside. Again, I wasn't paying attention to where my back is. It's right here. All right, I'm gonna put that off to the side. And now we're gonna start on the lid, which is gonna be so fun. Okay, you guys are gonna be like, I don't know that this is exactly how Marie Christine put hers together, but based on my studying the box on her reel, I think this is how it goes together. So it's the Pixie version. It might be the same as Marie Christine's. All right, so we're gonna start with a piece of basic black that measures 1 1/4 by 6 13/16. That's just 1/16 more than 6 3/4. Okay. And we're gonna score this in a similar way where we go in one direction and then flip it around and then go in the other direction. And we're gonna use the paper trimmer. Do I need, yes, I do need the arm out for this one. And we're only gonna be scoring along the long side, not the short side. Okay, so we're gonna start by doing 2 1/8. 4 1/4. And 6 3/8, which is right here. Then I'm gonna rotate it 180 and do 1 1/2. Three 5/8. And 5 3/4. So Nan, you might have YouTube Premium, and if you do, you don't get ads with YouTube Premium. That might be what you're watching on TV. All right, so there's that. And then I'm just gonna fold and burnish on all the score lines. So that is another option. If you wanna invest in YouTube Premium, the ads go away. We haven't done that yet, have we? I don't know if we will. All right, so very simple. This is gonna end up being a hexagon as well. This is gonna be what we attach our little loops to, but I'm gonna come in and do a quick miter cut here along the edge, the little 1/2 inch section. Not quite a 1/2 of an inch, but like so. Okay, so now I'm gonna flip it to the back side and fold on the second score line from the left and the second score line from the right and line those up. You are welcome, Virginia. I try to always remember to turn them on before I go live, so you have the option. I don't know how well YouTube gets the closed captioning, but hopefully it's fairly decent enough that you can understand me. I wonder how YouTube spells zhuzh, if the closed captioning knows the proper spelling of zhuzh. Zhuzh. Okay, my glue bottle, I tell ya, it's clogged. I have my little glue pin, which is just a ball tip. What are these called? Sewing pins. I just use that to pull out any clogs. Okay. Now we're back in business. I feel like that's slightly off. Is that off? There we go. That looks a little bit better. So I did first and fourth score lines. So fourth from the left, first from the right. But again, we use the, see how it's not quite perfectly lined up? That's okay. I'm basically just lining up the cut edge with the score line. Oh, Nan, I understand. You're probably not seeing the live chat. That might be why. Because the live chat on the TV is an overlay, so I think you have to opt to show that. All right, so we've got the basics of that hexagon. This is ultimately going to fit around the base, but we've got to add our little loop-de-loops. And so I've got pieces cut already for that. We've got 3 strips of basic black and 3 strips of the Modern Christmas. They're all varying lengths because once you start to overlap these, you need a little bit of space so they don't get in each other's way, okay? So I figured out the different lengths for that. One tip I have on when you're cutting the cardstock, it doesn't matter with the designer series paper, but with the cardstock, you wanna make sure you're cutting in the right direction with the grain of the paper. And I've shared this before to show you how to figure that out. So I'm going to grab a piece of basic black and show you. Now, I wish there was a rhyme or reason to say, oh, you know, the grain is always along the long side or it's always along the short side. It's just based on how Stampin' Up! Cuts it. They get these huge, I think they're called like charger sheets, or that, I don't think that's the right term, but they get these giant sheets of cardstock and they cut them down to the 8.5 by 11. They don't always cut the 8.5 by 11 with the cardstock fibers running in the same position. So to test it, you simply just bend your cardstock and figure out which direction gives you more play. And I think you can probably tell on camera that this long side gives me more play. Oh, hold on a second. Watch, this is gonna be one that's difficult for me to figure out. Actually, I'm feeling a little bit more tension along the long side than along the short side. The reason why I'm testing this is when I go to curl this cardstock, you're not gonna be able to see it so well on the sample. Maybe a little bit. There's just a little bit of a crease right there because on my sample, I cut my strips in the wrong direction. So what did I say? This way is easier than this way. Yeah. So because this way bends easier, you want your 1 inch to be cut along the long side, and that's on this version because it's gonna bend easier this way. So 1 inch this way, and then when you go to curl the cardstock, it's gonna curl much easier and not give you those little wrinkles in the paper. If I were to cut the 1 inch this way, when I go to curl it, I'm gonna start to get some creases. Hopefully that makes sense. So just kind of play with your paper. You should be able to tell which way is giving you less friction. It's more pliable this way. So I want to cut basically against the grain. It's like you're eating a piece of steak or cutting a piece of steak, if that makes sense. Hopefully that tip helps you. All right, so on the 3 pieces of basic black, let me give you those measurements. They're all 1 inch in width. So this piece is 7.5. This piece is 7 5/8. Nope, I'm doing that backwards. The first piece is 7 7/8 by 1, 7 5/8 by 1, and 7.5 by 1, okay? The designer series paper pieces, these are all 7/8 of an inch, and they are 5 1/4, 5, 4 7/8. All these measurements will be on the project sheet. I'm going to put the designer series paper off to the side. And these 3 pieces, I'm going to score them the same. I'm going to score them at 1.5 inch from each side along the long side. I'll be extra and use my Simply Scored for this. But hopefully you can see these bend really nicely this way. So I fixed my pieces that I had cut in the wrong direction. So 1 1/4 from each side. One 1/4, rotate, 1 1/4, and then 1 1/4, rotate, 1 1/4. And I just kind of stack them to make sure I know which one's the longest. So that's the longest, that's the middle, that's that one. Let me show you what those look like stacked. There's just a slight difference. Oops. Oh wow, you can't even see that on camera. That's so funny. All right. So we've got that, and then these pieces, the same thing. I kind of stack them, 1, 2, 3. So long, middle, short. And I'm gonna just start, move these off to the side, with the 2 long pieces. I'm gonna just lay and glue this strip in between the score lines. It's gonna be a perfect fit, 1/16 of an inch all the way around. So liquid glue. go. I finally put my Christmas decorations up yesterday. I'm like, they just have to get done. But I've whittled them down to an underbed box. That's all that I need for that. Over the years, I've just kind of pared them down to just make it easier on me to put up and take down. Lots of twinkling lights, though. It's one of my favorite things to look at for the holidays. All right, so then we're just going to keep moving down the line. And again, just laying that designer series paper right between the score lines. I'm doing this now before I fold and burnish and kind of curl the paper, because we want the designer series paper to curl with the cardstock. Like it's all one unit. There we go. And I purposely cut this paper so that the stripes go along the short side, or they run parallel to the short side. I just like the look of that. There we go. All right, give those a minute. I'm just going to come in and burnish the glue a bit. Okay. All right, so then all I'm going to do is just take the bone folder on the back side, and so the cardstock is between my thumb and the bone folder, and I'm just gently curling the paper. I'm not pulling too hard. I just want to kind of gently coerce it. I'm going to do that to all three pieces. All right, and then the last thing on these pieces, I'm just going to fold on those little score lines and burnish. I'm excited to share this next part because it's so cool. All right, so again, we need to make sure we know which one is which. So I actually want the shortest one to start with. Let me just make sure. Okay, that's the longest. All right, so I'm starting with the short one. I'm gonna pull in this piece that we created, the one that looks like a cookie cutter, okay? And on the back side of this, I'm gonna put liquid glue up to the score line. And I'm gonna do what's most pleasing to my eye. Feel free to change it up if you like a different look. I like to see the smallest loop in the front. So I'm gonna first glue it to the section that has the tab in the back. And I'm just gonna put this underneath our little cookie cutter loop here. And I'm going right up to the score line. Like so, and I'm just gonna hold it there. There's just enough wiggle room that it'll fit between the score lines. I'm just kind of pinching it. This is not gluing to our little cookie cutter on the outside. It's only gluing on the inside. Okay, you'll see that? It's kind of, it looks like a soup ladle. Now we're going to basically cross this over to the other side, and then this is gonna glue underneath the opposite side. So now it really looks like a cookie cutter with a little handle, okay? So again, we glued that to the inside. This one's gonna do the same. Gluing it to the inside, so it looks like that. And you're gonna have this wiggle room here because we're not gluing the loop to the outside of this piece. Okay, so let me grab my liquid glue here. And again, we're starting with the smallest. And remember, this is gonna go over and under. And tuck it in. And this could be like a really cute box too. I kind of like it with the little handle, but it gets even more extra when you add the other two pieces. So again, it's not gluing. See how that's not attached there? It's only attached to the inside. But I'm just pinching for leverage here. But we're not actually sticking it to the outside, it's just sticking to the inside. So that's the first of the 3 loops. You got that nice curve because we kind of told the paper who's boss by curving it with the bone folder. And now we're gonna go ahead and trying to figure out where my seam is. There's my seam. Now we're gonna do the middle one. We're gonna do the same thing. So liquid glue up to the score line. And this part doesn't matter, but I'm gonna go just to the right. So this is gonna go underneath, and it's gluing to the back side of this section. So I find it's easiest to kind of do this. We're lining that up right at that score line. So basically I can see the whole score line here. I've got a little bit of extra glue oozing there, but I can see the score line there. But I'm gluing it to the back side. And again, I could fold this up if I wanted to get some better leverage to get this out of my right hand's way. Okay, and now we're gonna do the same thing, but go to the opposite side. Again, this is gonna glue underneath here. Okay, so liquid glue. Gonna go up and over and glue under. Like so. And I'm just pinching to get that to hold. All right, so there we go. We've got the middle one and then the right one, and then we've got our third try here. So liquid glue, again, up to the score line. This is the longest piece. And it's gonna start on the left, okay? Just line it up at that score line. Still have a little bit of room to put a finger in here to kind of press things into place. And then again, this is gonna go up and over. It's going over the other 2 loops, and again, this is longer to accommodate that. And then this one's gonna fold under and glue on the inside. Isn't that so cool how that looks from the outside? I love this box so much. Mary Christine, you are a genius. I love it. Love it, love it. All right, so again, up and over and gluing to the inside. Trying not to get glue all over me. There we go. Okay, there we have it. Is that not so cool? Now again, you could decide if you wanted this to be the front where you've got the tallest piece. I kind of love the look of the shortest one being the front and then having kind of that X crisscross on either side. In Igloo, yes, Patricia, I see that too. And I can kind of just like push down on these and they'll bulge out a little bit. But see how they're not attached to that inside kind of cookie cutter ring that we created. That's why you kind of get that igloo, chef's hat, crown type look. Really, really cool. All right, let's see. I think I'll do a little bit more glue here in a bit when we decorate it, but I'm gonna then go ahead, let me see if I can figure out where my seam is. Looking in the lights here. Okay, that's my seam. So that's the back of the box. Now this is gonna be a tight fit, but in a good way, okay? So it's not gonna be, it should fit. You just have to coarse it a little bit. I say that as I'm having a hard time. There we go. And it's just gonna be a really nice fit that you could poke holes here in the top. Now, what I would suggest if you're gonna do that is taking a pencil and making marks. So for example, if this is going to be the front of your box, I would kind of look at the top of the box like this, and I'd put 2 little pencil marks here and here. So it's kind of going at a different angle than this crisscross. And then you should be able to push down the other layers to fit a hole punch in there. So let me grab a hole punch. I'm not going to punch holes because I don't want to turn mine into an ornament. But yes, you could fit your hole punch under there. I'm just pushing down those layers a little bit. Make your pencil marks first, punch, and then you can put twine. There's a gorgeous black and gold and white and gold twine that comes with this suite of products that would be beautiful to hang it on the tree. Okay, and I know some of you have trees that you decorate all year round. It could be kind of a cool ornament for that. Could just change it up for the different occasions. All right, so I'm gonna grab, let's see, we're gonna do some heat embossing first, and then we're gonna do some die cutting. Got my mini Misty. I had, let's see, got a scrap piece of basic white. And I'm just gonna hold that in place. And I'm gonna grab my embossing buddy. Versamark. We're gonna stamp this a few times so it's good and sticky with Versamark. Again, this is the Be Jolly sentiment. Three times for good measure. There we go. And I've got my black embossing powder. I can never pick up these magnets. I need to add my duct tape to these. All right. I just have one of those silica gel packets in there to keep this from getting moisture here in the Atlanta area. So I'm gonna sprinkle powder on it 2 or 3 times just so I don't miss any spots. I got speckles everywhere. I probably didn't do the Stampin' or embossing buddy too well. There we go, that looks good. All right, now we're gonna heat it up with the heat tool. See if you can see the magic. Sometimes it's hard on black. Just starting to turn. It's much easier to watch gold and silver turn, but just so you can see the shiny black embossing powder there. All right, let's get our die cutting ready. Now I'm gonna put the Be Jolly to the upper right because I wanna have some space for the little bow we're gonna cut. That looks good there. What was that just popped? Sounded like my weird noises. All right. So there's Be Jolly, okay? And then I'm gonna take basic black, a scrap piece, and my bow die from the Gingerbread Man dies. Make sure I got all my pieces and parts here. That guy. All right, let's see. I'm gonna put my little bow together. So liquid glue. like to use my reverse tweezers. Just gives me more control. There's that, and then the bow knot, which we're going to cover up with a rhinestone anyways, but I just love the way it looks. How cute is that bow? I love it. All right. So then this guy, a little bit of glue, and we're going to kind of put that off to the left. It's going to cover up the loop on the J, but you can still read Jolly. There's that. Gonna grab a rhinestone. Pop that in the middle. And then I'm gonna do a pair of dimensionals, but I want those to run vertical because of the curve we got going on. We're just gonna pop that right there and pinch, or I'm pressing down a little bit. There we go. So there is our table favor. I don't know what I'm gonna call it yet, but I love it. It's got kind of that dome shape, and it's a nice snug fit. So you can absolutely turn this into an ornament and you won't worry about the bottom falling out, unless you put something really heavy in there, but I don't know what that would be. A whole bunch of quarters. So there's that one. Here's my sample from earlier. And again, this, I will include a link to Marie Christine's reel so that you can take a look at all the different versions that she created. Again, I didn't see a tutorial, so I kind of came up with all the measurements. She might have totally different measurements if she shares a tutorial, but I absolutely loved it. Totally inspired by it. Hazel, thank you for the idea. I had so much fun trying to figure it out. It was a challenge, but it was fun. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that you'll give it a try for whatever occasion you may use it for. It doesn't have to be a table favor. It'd be a really cute way to give a gift to somebody, like a cute little one of those EOS lip balms would be really cute in here. A handful of treats. You guys come up with some great ideas. So, all right. We're going to jump into the Q&A section. So if you joined us a little bit late and you've got a question for me, go ahead and put a Q in front of your question. That will make it into my queue. I'm about 20 to 30 seconds ahead of you. So if I miss any questions at the tail end of the stream, email me anytime at support@thepaperpixie.com. You can email me anytime you need. It's me in the inbox. I'm always happy to answer your questions for you. So let me get those teed up here. All right, let's see. We're starting up with Court Clerk 99. I received my Black Friday order today. I took advantage of the 40% off on the Stampin' Blends. Amazing sale on those. I was happy to add to my collection. How do you store yours? Go this way, this way. They're right there. And I use the Stampin' Storage Stampin' Blends shelf. Mine is painted white, but you can get it natural as well. I do also offer a digital download for $8 of all the Stampin' Blends labels, both current and retired. And your one-time purchase comes with free updates for the life of Stampin' Blends. But yeah, Stampin' Storage is my favorite storage solution for the Stampin' Blends. There are also storage options at Stampin' Up as well. It's white plastic for those. The Stampin' Storage ones are wood. I think it's white birch is what they use. So that is my favorite way to store blends, but there's lots of options out there. Check Pinterest for a couple of different ideas, but I love Stampin' Storage. Let's see. Welcome, Debbie, to my live streams. I get inspiration from Pinterest, from other demonstrators, Facebook. Sometimes inspiration strikes in the form of boxes that I see at the store that I'm intrigued by. I love to kind of find different inspiration in different places, but often Pinterest is kind of my go-to. Sometimes I'll start with the item that I want to create a box for, and I'll I save a couple of ideas of styles of boxes that I like that I might want to change up for a different insert. But Pinterest is probably my go-to. YouTube as well, but Pinterest mostly because I look for pictures more than videos. So hopefully that helps you. Ooh, Rhonda, great question. When you measure with your cutter, do you place the paper just to the right of the tick mark or on the tick mark? I am like on the tick mark, but you can still see the tick mark, if that makes sense. I mean, I know the tick marks are really tiny, but I pretty much go just up to maybe a little bit into the tick mark, if that makes sense. I think if you go over the tick mark too far, I don't know. Sometimes it is likely helpful if you do some cutting and use a ruler just to compare, to try to figure out on your trimmer if it's better to go just up to without touching it or just touching it. I tend to go just touching it. That's my very scientific answer for you. But hopefully that helps. Ooh, what do you recommend to use to remove any spillover from the glue? So I recommend using an adhesive eraser, which you can actually find on my favorites page. I just used mine today. It's typically a square, but I cut mine in half, so I have more surfaces to work with. I think it's about a 2 by 2 inch square, but that is linked on my favorites page. And this, I will typically wait until the white has dissipated, so it's just tacky. Like I wait till the glue kind of dries, and then this will rub that adhesive right off. So adhesive eraser, and it's just rubber, but it's magic. It removes adhesive with the rubber, and you'll see I've got all these little like glue boogies on there. That's just adhesive that I've picked up off my cardstock. I don't rub the cardstock too hard because you might start to tear the fibers of the cardstock, but if you'll kind of get the hang of wiping it with the eraser and getting the adhesive off. But yeah, I love adhesive erasers. I can't have a craft space without it. It's one of my must-have tools. Ooh, Lisa, good question. I didn't even know they removed the availability filter because it was just there the other week when I was looking. I didn't notice that it was gone, so I don't know the answer to that. I agree. I found it helpful to look at low inventory items, especially on the last chance list. If you're kind of on the fence with some products and stuff's going into low inventory, kind of helps you move faster so you don't miss out. But that's a good question. I will reach out to Stampin' Up! And just ask the question. I don't know that I will get an answer, but I am curious why they may have taken that off because that was helpful. Let's see. Ooh, do we have a favorite Christmas movie that we watch together each year? So me and the kids, Brian will not sit through a Christmas movie. Well, I don't know. You probably would. But some of our favorites are Elf and Home Alone. I've already been requested by Nolan to watch Home Alone, and I will happily oblige because I love that movie. That was a movie that Bubba G and I watched over and over and over again growing up. So it's usually between those two. Nolan did ask about Charlie Brown Christmas, and I just frankly told him, I'm like, I don't think you're going to be able to sit through that one. But I'm happy to play it, and we'll see. But I don't think he'll sit through the whole movie. You like Christmas Story? That's different. No, he just said fragile. I don't know. Christmas Story is like not as good as I remember. You know how, I don't know. I tried to watch The Goonies with the kids a couple months ago, and I'm like, this isn't as good as I remember. And the kids could have cared less, but Elf and Home Alone are our favorites. Oh, that was the last question. Awesome, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I know we are inching closer to the Christmas holiday. I'm going to be live one more time in 2025, and that will be, well, 2 times technically. But next Wednesday, December 17th, is going to be episode 399, and then I will not be live until Wednesday, January 7th for episode 400. Greg and I have a couple things up our sleeve for that, but we haven't finalized anything. So I've got next Wednesday, December 17th, and then I'm going to be taking off the next 2 weeks because my Wednesday nights fall on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, and I'm going to take that time to be with my family, maybe get things a little organized here in my craft room. I will also be live on December 18th for my Pixie patrons, my members only stream. So just to give you a heads up on schedule, again, I'm going to send out details about my product shares either tomorrow or Friday once I figure out the technical difficulties. So stay tuned for that. If you're on my email list, you're going to get information about that. I will finish the project sheet and I will send that to my email list tomorrow, December 11th. I'll also add it to the video description for those of you watching replay. And is there anything else? Don't forget to take advantage of free shipping. Again, free shipping on orders of $75 or more. That's before shipping and tax and after applying any Stampin' Rewards. That will also unlock the product of the month for $5. That is going through... The free shipping is through Friday, December 12th. It ends at 11:59 p.m. Mountain Time. So don't miss out on free shipping. Also, check out, if you're an Active Paper Pumpkin subscriber, check out that sale, up to 50% off. Past kits, refills, and add-ons. Check out the last chance list, and then stay tuned for my product shares. So lots of stuff going on. As always, if you have any questions, just email me at support@thepaperpixie.com. Don't forget, all you need are stamps, ink, and a little paper pixie. And here's a special shout out to my Pixie patrons. I'm so grateful for your support. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful and blessed week, and we'll see you next time. Take good care. Bye.